of Congress has died. Jackie Walorski, a Republican, was killed in a head-on collision in her Indiana district. Another car crossed a lane into hers, also killing that driver and two of Walorski's staffers. The jury deciding if Nicholas Cruz should get the death penalty for the massacre at a Parkland, Florida school in 2018 that left 17 students and adults dead takes a field trip today, going to still bloodstained Stoneman Douglas High. Jeff Lennox with WSVN-TV.
Bailiffs from the Broward County Sheriff's Office entering the building on Wednesday, making preparations. The killer will not be there, having waived his right. Back in the courtroom, more messages from heartbroken families.
I was so happy to be her father. She was beautiful, and a gift from God as he chose to bless our family.
Tony Montalto describes life since losing Gina.
Life without Gina is nearly unbearable.
In Texas, a jury will continue deliberating again today if conspiracy theorist Alex Jones should pay millions of dollars in damages in another lawsuit over his claiming the massacre at an elementary school in Connecticut was a hoax. He admitted under oath yesterday it was real. America's listening to Fox News.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is building Do Good Village in Land O'Lakes, Florida. It's a first-of-its-kind community with over 100 homes for program recipients. A place where Gold Star families, families of fallen first responders, and catastrophically injured heroes can live together with neighbors who understand. A place where the children of these families will grow up together. Help America's greatest heroes and their families to heal together. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:03. It is going to be another warm one today in mid-Missouri. Here's the good news, folks. The heat advisory is no longer in effect, but it's still going to be a hot one today. Our high around 90. Clear skies tonight with a low near 71. And tomorrow is Friday. Sunshine with a high of 91 degrees. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you on this busy Thursday morning. Federal prosecutors say a Centralia man is facing felony and misdemeanor charges for the January 6 Capitol breach in Washington. ABC 17's Marina Diaz reports 36-year-old Jared Barger has been arrested in Osage Beach. Mr. Barger is already out of custody this morning.
Jared Barger is the second mid-Missouri man charged in connection to the January 6 breach of the United States Capitol. A federal prosecutor charged Barger with a felony crime of bringing a gun onto U.S. Capitol grounds. According to court documents, Barger allegedly brought a loaded gun illegally across state lines and into the District of Columbia, where he did not have a license to carry. Police there found the gun on the ground during the riot outside of the Capitol building. That is ABC 17's Marina Diaz reporting for us this morning. Marina, thank you. Federal prosecutors say Barger's alleged actions and the actions of others disrupted a joint session of Congress that day relating to the counting of electoral votes. Now, as far as who is handling the investigation of Barger, it's being investigated by the FBI as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office in both Kansas City and the District of Columbia, and the Department of Justice's National Security Division Counterterrorism section also involved in the investigation against the Centralia resident. We'll keep you posted on that. More details at 6:31. Missouri's governor says $2.5 million in funding for tobacco cessation will be used to develop programs to protect minors from the illegal sales of tobacco products. Governor Mike Parson traveling to Mizzou in Columbia. He made Wednesday's announcement. This is the largest single investment into tobacco cessation in state history. I asked Governor Parson yesterday about his announcement that he's a former smoker. It's the first time the governor has ever publicly revealed it. Listen to what he said here.
You know, I did go through that, and it's not something I'm proud of, but, you know, I'm like a lot of other people. You know, I grew up on a farm, I grew up in a rural area, and sometimes you just do it just because it's the thing to do. Kids do it just because it's cool. They want to be cool.
Governor again emphasizing he's not proud of being a former smoker. There were a lot of other former smokers in the audience, including one man who'd smoked for 30 years. He has to speak with basically a computer system. Essentially, he has had his voice box taken out. A lot of people in the audience getting choked up. His name is Don Young. Other students were there that are urging the governor to continue with these investments. More from the governor as well at the bottom of the hour. Missouri Secretary of State says 24.3% of registered voters cast ballots during Tuesday's primary election. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft is thanking all the thousands of poll workers who showed up and made it possible for Tuesday's election to happen. Mr. Ashcroft says voting is a right and a responsibility. A former Kansas City television news anchor who is now the GOP nominee for West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District seat is crediting dedicated volunteers district-wide for his Tuesday primary win. Mark Alford spoke on 93.9 The Eagles' Wake Up Columbia in mid-Missouri.
And what we've been able to accomplish with our team and with the volunteers and the supporters, the 24 counties in this district, is simply phenomenal.
Alford easily won the 7-way primary with more than 35% of the vote. He'll face Lamar Democrat Jack Truman this fall. Sprawling district does include part of Columbia in northern Boone County. We have posted the full interview with Mr. Alford on our website. It is 939theeagle.com. And readers of Inside Columbia magazine have recently voted Como Smoke and Fire the best barbecue in town, and you'll soon have a second location to enjoy Como Smoke and Fire's famous pork steaks and their sides. Inside Columbia's Zola Crowder reporting they have begun demolishing the former Buckingham's location near Nifong in South Columbia. Buckingham sold to Como Smoke and Fire in April, as we reported back then. After 24 years in business, the new Como Smoke and Fire location is expected to open in supply. That is barring any unforeseen developments with supply chain issues, things like that. We have much more on this on our website, 939theeagle.com. Our news is brought to you in the 6 o'clock hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all your cooling needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. Turning our attention now to sports. Rain forcing the cancellation of Wednesday night's Cardinal game at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Now, I have to tell you, if you read some of the news accounts on this, some people are saying, well, it really wasn't all that heavy rain. Folks, there was heavy rain in St. Louis. Just depends on where you're at, and they were trying to be careful here, especially after the record flooding, because I talked to my mom and dad, and it was pouring where they were, probably about 20 minutes from Busch Stadium. So the umpires make that decision with the support of the teams. They made the decision to cancel the game, and we understand that. They will play a rare day-night doubleheader today, the Cardinals and the Cubs. First pitch 12:15 today here on 93.9 The Eagle. Tickets for last night's game will be valid for the 12:15 game, not for the late game. So if you had a ticket last night, that works for the 12:15 game today. Miles Michaelis on the mound. 12:15 today, 93.9 The Eagle. There will be a break after the game. Cardinals Radio Network will come back. Second game tonight, first pitch 6:45. You'll hear that on 93.9 The Eagle as well. So keep that in mind. Dr. Tobler's program should air for the most part today. White Sox beat the Royals 4-1. Lance Lynn getting the win. Our news time, 6:09. All right, John, thanks so much. Right now, we do have clear skies in mid-Missouri, 74. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. Our roads right now pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text. Our number is 573-874-9390. Well, another update at 6:31. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Houseworth, 93.9 The Eagle.
And I want to say a word or two as to why. Finland and Sweden want to expand NATO because it is in their national security interest to do so. And fair enough. The question that should properly be before us, however, is it in the United States' interest to do so? Because that's what American foreign policy is supposed to be about, I thought. It's about American security, protecting American workers, defending American jobs, securing American prosperity. And I fear that some in this town have lost sight of that. They think American foreign policy is about creating a liberal world order or nation building overseas. With all due respect, they're wrong.
That's our soon-to-be senior Senator Josh Hawley on the floor yesterday. 95-1, the one vote against admitting some other countries into NATO. Sweden and Finland as members of the NATO alliance. One person voted no, and that person?
Our senator, Rand Paul did vote present, apparently, but it's strange. I mean, Hawley's been out there on some issues against conservatives on some of the other issues, but I don't know that he's ever been singled out like this. And of course, he was trending on Twitter due to this last night.
This time he's not only against conservatives, he's apparently against everybody because he was the lone no vote. And I appreciate him getting up and saying, this is why I'm voting no. What about the America First thing? That harkens back to Trump, and I get that. But here's my thing. I'm like, listen, you get up and you make a speech. This is why I'm voting no. Voting yes, it's no harm, no foul. And if you're 12 years old and don't know what NATO is, it's something on the heels of World War II. So basically, hey, we're a pact of nations. You attack them, you're attacking all of us.
If for people that really are into their history, and it does hark back to maybe former President Trump and America First, but really, if you listen to that speech, a lot of similarities between that and the farewell address from President George Washington back in the 1700s, literally. I mean, I hadn't heard all the details, but basically he didn't want any permanent alliances, and it was more or less America First, because his President Washington's concern was these nations will try to divide America against others, et cetera. I mean, he's taking it for similarities, a little bit different angle, and also he's worried about some funding issues. But it is interesting. And one thing we would like to be able to hear from Senator Hawley the next time he's in Columbia and get him on. We would love to have him on.
Thank you, Brian. We would. Well, because when I say it, if people get mad at me, well, I'll quit complaining about that. Well, listen, here's my thing. And I love Josh Hawley. I'd vote for him again in a heartbeat. Love his strength, his conviction. I would love to see somebody like Josh Hawley and Gary Nolan or Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro shows here weeknights 7. I would love to see Josh Hawley, Gary Nolan, who hosts the Gary Nolan Show, and Ben Shapiro. I would love to hear the three of them debate. Gary Nolan is one of the most incredible. He's a master debater.
He really is.
Ben Shapiro, he is very good too. I would love to have the three of those: Hawley, Nolan, Shapiro.
Yeah, and we have not. And again, they've been locked up in Washington, to a certain extent with a lot of votes and stuff. But Senator Hawley doesn't do as many events as Senator Blunt. That's just the way it is, especially in mid-Missouri. But when he does come, we'll definitely go cover it.
Here's the thing, and maybe it gets personal sometimes, but Hawley, any of these politicians who use us to campaign and free airtime, and then they get into office and don't want to come on the show, then I do get a little frustrated, and I think it's reasonable to be frustrated with that. We've had numerous conversations, reinvigorated conversations recently with the Hawley camp, like, hey, man, why don't you come on? But whatever. Sure.
You're not the only one who's frustrated. Apparently, I think, Hannah, this is called subtweeting, although it's not really on Twitter.
The subtle art of the subtweet.
Yeah, so when everyone knows who you're talking about, but you don't name them, Senator Cotton said, I would love to hear the defense of such a curious vote. McConnell says, if any senator is looking for a defensible excuse to vote no, I wish them good luck. And so even, other senators in his own party are feeling very frustrated.
I think, everybody, I think is frustrated. Ultimately, it passed. Now, if he would have went on Fox News last night and talked about why he did it, then I would say he was... Oh, wait, he did? He did go on Fox and grandstand?
Let's focus on the things that really are in America's interest. Let's focus on China overseas. Let's focus on our borders at home. But expanding NATO, it just doesn't have anything to do with any of that.
Okay, so he did go on Fox News and talk about it.
But I think it's an important point. I mean, there is kind of a divide in the conservative movement, especially I think among young conservatives about what foreign policy should be. And a lot of it came up, with Afghanistan and whether it was the right time to pull out or not. Now, ultimately, I think we can all agree the way that went down was bad. But there were certainly people in the conservative camp on both sides of the aisle about how much involvement we should have there and elsewhere. And I think it's a legitimate conversation. I think the way that it came out yesterday wouldn't have been my preferred method.
And I think ultimately is what he's doing. He's trying to make his point, and I understand that, but I'll liken it to me when I tried to make my point following the passage of the Affordable Care Act, and I dropped my health care insurance because I was adamantly, vehemently against being forced to purchase something that I may or may not want. I dropped my health insurance, and I showed them I made my points.
I was going to say, how did that work out for you?
A couple years later, $1,800 in fines and then some penalties, and there was some interest in there. So it was, it cost me several grand, but I made my point.
Did you, though? Because I think that you just got, you got told by the government.
Yeah, I got owned. Bob via text 874-9390 says Josh Hawley is absolutely right. I don't think anybody's saying that he's wrong or right. It's he made his point. We agree with that. DeSantis, apparently, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. There's talk DeSantis, Trump DeSantis. He's apparently got a big announcement. By the way, I want to mention something. You may have noticed this. And so I do want to address it here because this is the third time that Brian Houseworth has done this now. I don't like to do the big, hey, we have this big announcement. We have changed the name of our show, but we've been getting some text because you ain't stupid. And I know that I'm going to stereotype about you. You're not stupid because you're listening to Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle, trying to get educated about what's happening nationally, statewide, and locally, how these things affect me. And we've had a couple of text, Facebook messages, some words on the street. Have you guys changed your name to Wake Up Mid-Missouri? Yeah, and we've been asked, well, how come? Well, we've been talking about over the past several months, we have an influx of new listeners, younger listeners, which really excites me because people are getting educated about how these things work. Regretful Biden voters now tuning in to Wake Up Mid-Missouri. And so instead of Wake Up Columbia, we saw it's more descriptive. It is a more accurate. And you know how accurate I like to be. Thought it was
as accurate as you feel like being.
For all my friends in Ashland, I lobbied for Wake Up Southern Boone, but I got outvoted. Sorry.
Wake Up Sobo. So his third and
sober works too.
So we had this bet. We said, okay, but the first one to say Wake Up Columbia buys pizza for the whole crew, the interns, everybody.
Yeah.
And you may have heard in the news again, Brian said on Wake Up Class, it's the third pizza you owe us now, by the way.
But I did say Wake Up Columbia and Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I phrased it like that. So, yeah, it's just it's habit. It's a little bit of habit in my copy when I'm writing it. It's a little different, but when I'm trying to, just rolls off the tongue because we've said it for so long. But I'm excited about it. I really am. All good. And to your point about younger and a lot of older listeners too. Don't forget those. They definitely tune in a lot.
Brian, you and I are the older listeners, dude.
And even people like our parents' age. I hear a lot. I hear a lot of that. But I saw and talked to several young people at Mizzou yesterday. Several young people. Some that work for the state. Some that are going to school, and they are listening to 93.9 The Eagle, and we appreciate it. And some of them are in their 20s, some in their 30s, quite a few. Some of them are in their teens.
By the way, 710, Mike Parson admitted something yesterday, and I think there's a lot of power in what he said. I want to cover that coming up 710 this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Here on, on 93.9 The Eagle. All right, let's move forward. Morning, the Daily DC.
Man, you're on a roll. You need to worry less about what other people are saying and more about what comes out of your mouth.
Now I'm all flummoxed and stuff. I don't want to mess that Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and now I'm going to get the Morning Bell Business News 825 with Stephanie Pell. Daily DC Rundown. What do you have for us, Steph?
Well, another case that told you so. I told
Mid-Missouri, Boonville, Columbia, Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. Here's the thing that I love about Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. As a matter of fact, Hannah has produced a video that is on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. We're looking at a car, and this is what we mean about Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. Somebody had taken their car somewhere else, said, hey, we need the AC service, and they took it somewhere, and all this place did is they put Freon in it. A couple days later, AC still not working, so they took it to Gap's Automotive Repair Shop where they do AC service. They just don't dump more Freon into it. They do a service. And I'm there, and I'm videoing this, and sure enough, they find the problem. There's like a kink in one of the tubes or hoses, and I'm like, man, that's why I come and see you guys, because they take the time to look at your vehicle, whether it's AC, whether it's tires, brakes, whatever it is. That's what they do, and that's why more and more people all across Missouri are falling in love with Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. You find Gap's Automotive Repair Shop in Columbia and in Boonville.
Putting the fun in dysfunctional. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle. 4 people killed in all. Walorski and 2 aides, her district director, Zach Potts, and Emma Thompson, her communications director.
All right, that's regarding the death of the U.S. representative from Indiana, Jackie Walorski. Let's get more on Ms. Walorski from Stephanie Bell. That's getting us into today's Daily D.C. Rundown on 93.9 The Eagle.
Yeah, she served on the House and Ways and Means Committee, was first elected to Indiana's 2nd Congressional in 2012, and previously served in the state legislature. I know here in Missouri, we've been affected by deaths in statewide elected offices and in other offices, and it's just, my thoughts are with the people of Indiana. It's easy to forget politicians are just human and that their staffs are human, and so really sad day there. And the folks of Indiana mourning her loss. Biden, meanwhile, didn't he have like a celebration at the White House not too long ago over guns? He was having a celebration, I think, again yesterday at the White House. He said Republicans in the high court don't have a clue about the power of American women. Last night in Kansas, they found out. And yesterday, I told you, I said, they're going to take what happened in Kansas and say, we did it, guys. There's a sea change coming. And you pointed out exactly what needed to be pointed out. This wasn't a change. The polls show. He says Republicans in the high court don't have a clue. We all had a clue. We've all seen the polls about what people's views are on abortion. Kansas already has some restrictions on abortion. You have to have an ultrasound. You have to have a waiting period. You have to get the information. And the voters in Kansas just said, hey, the current restrictions we have, we want to keep the status quo.
Here's Biden yesterday, as a matter of fact.
But I'm anxious to hear from all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do I sign this order now?
Do I sign this now?
I'm going to sign this executive order right now, okay?
Okay.
The AP is reporting, based on the vote in Kansas, Democrats displayed a newfound sense of optimism. Well, I don't see it. I don't see it changing anything in the midterms at all.
Who's that rock the vote or get out the vote? They have hundreds of thousands of new people that have registered as Democrats since that decision by SCOTUS earlier this year, which White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre, she said that ruling from the Supreme Court justices, she says their ruling was unconstitutional.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm sure, who we're going to have checking on all those new voter registrations is our local representative, Cherie Tolson-Reich, who has found, really interesting things when it comes to voter rolls. So I hope as they're registering new folks that they are checking those voter rolls. Also, I thought you would really enjoy this. The Transportation Department got a new rule out, and they're saying they might require airlines to refund you if your schedule changes by like more than 3 hours. And initially I'm thinking, well, that'd be great, because I've had some pretty big travel snafus recently. And then I think, you know what? I don't really like the government telling any business how to do their business. And I think ultimately, if airlines are required to refund everybody, who's going to pay for that? We all are. Every ticket will just be more expensive, and I don't like that because the tickets are already really expensive.
We got something in common, Mrs. Bell, because first thing I'm like, hey, and it would have been helpful this past weekend. 2 flights delayed more than 3 hours, and I'm like, oh, that would be... No, I don't want the government telling the airline industry what they should do, and that's your daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell here on Wake Up with Missouri on 90. Dang it. I'll be pausing over that all morning long here on 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up a few minutes from now, DeSantis apparently with some big announcement. We're going to cover that for you 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. China's military has been firing missiles in the South China Sea off Taiwan.
This does follow House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit, which sparked threats from Beijing. Some of the affected areas are just 12 miles off the island, the closest Beijing's military exercises have ever come to Taiwan.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. President Biden signed another executive order on abortion.
He signed an executive order directing the Department of Health and Human Services to consider working with states to use Medicaid waivers to pay for expenses for women who cross state lines to receive abortions. Medicaid does include abortion care in cases of rape, incest, and danger to the life of the mother.
Fox's Kevin Cork. It's a 4-year sentence for a man charged in the robbery of the singer Lady Gaga's dog walker in Los Angeles in February of last year. A man accused of shooting that dog walker faces attempted murder charges. He was rearrested after accidentally being let go. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Houseworth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31 in Robinson Saves You Time. August the 4th, 2022. Right now, 74 degrees in Columbia. Bright sunshine expected later today. Clear right now. 74 our current temperature. On our way to today to a high of 90. Good morning. I'm Brian Houseworth. Federal prosecutors say a Centralia man has been arrested on both felony and misdemeanor charges for his alleged actions on January 6th in Washington. That made January 6, 2021. 36-year-old Jared Thomas Barger, and that's spelled B-A-R-G-A-R, is charged in a federal criminal complaint. He's accused of taking a 9mm semi-automatic pistol across state lines into the District of Columbia. Now, he is out of custody this morning after being arrested in Osage Beach yesterday. The gun allegedly found at 2:30 that afternoon on the west side of the Capitol building. FBI has been investigating the case. A shots fired incident in Jefferson City has led to one arrest.
A man is arrested after allegedly firing a gun in the air to break up a fight. Police were called to the 600 block of Georgia Street in Jefferson City Tuesday night. Officers say they heard a gunshot as they arrived. Man arrested is charged with unlawful weapons use and being a felon in possession of a gun. No one was hurt. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
John, thank you. A longtime Kansas City television news anchor from the KC area who has captured the GOP nomination for the 4th Congressional District in West Central Missouri is saying that God has been removed from our schools. Mark Alford's campaign commercials featured him speaking in front of a church cross.
I think people are longing to get back to God, not just in our nation, but in their homes.
Mr. Alford spoke on 93.9 The Eagles' Wake Up Mid-Missouri. He easily won the 7-way primary. 35% of the vote faces Jack Truman in November, and the governor announces largest single investment tobacco cessation in state history. Our news time, 6:33. In our news and sports this morning, brought to you by MidAmericaMortgage.us. You can apply now for a loan on your dream home. Our news time is 6:33. Time to take a look at sports. Now, rain forced the cancellation of Wednesday night's Cardinal game in St. Louis. A lot of discussion. I saw some fans commenting online that it wasn't all that heavy. Well, keep this in mind. The umpires are trying to make a decision with the safety in mind. They've got record flooding going on, and we did have heavy rain in parts of St. Louis. Not all of that heavy rain got into Busch Stadium. Some of it moved off to other areas. So they tried to make the best decision they could. The umpires make that decision, by the way, in consultation with the team. So they canceled the game last night. Day-night doubleheader today at Busch Stadium. Cardinals and the Cubs. First pitch in the first game, 12:15 today. 93.9 The Eagle, and the tickets for last night's game valid for the 12:15 game. Miles Michaelis will be on the mound today in that early game. Second game tonight, 6:45. You'll hear that game as well. 93.9 The Eagle. And to clarify, if you have a ticket for yesterday, you can get into the 12:15 game, but not in the evening game tonight. So keep that in mind. Both games will have them for you on the Eagle. White Sox beat the Royals 4-1. Lance Lynn, remember him? Cardinal pitcher. He earns the win for the White Sox. Our news time, 6:35. 6:35, 93.9 The Eagle, 93.9theeagle.com, traffic, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people, midmohires.com. Roads are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. If you do want to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text anytime. Our number is 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Houseworth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
Thanks for making Wake Up Mid-Missouri your favorite morning show. 93.9 The Eagle.
It's
Putin's price hike, it's Putin's price hike, it's Putin's price hike. You pointed out the war in Ukraine is still raging and prices are coming down. So what about this idea that this was Putin's price hike? Many people say that's a fallacy because the war is still raging and prices are coming down.
Well, so that's Fox's John Roberts talking to Biden economic advisor Amos Hochstein. Which is a great name, by the way. Amos Hochstein is this economic advisor for Joe. And he's asking him, so what about Putin's price hike? And I think we all predicted this. Said, listen, whenever gas prices start going down, Biden had been, it's Putin's price hike, it's this, it's that. But when gas prices go down, who gets the credit in Joe's mind?
Of course he does.
So how did this guy answer the question? Check this out.
It's not a fallacy.
Yes, it is a fallacy.
If you look at the charts.
So why are prices coming down?
Look, I'll explain. The prices start going up as soon as Putin starts intervening in the energy market in Europe. No, they actually weren't.
That, okay, I want to be clear, especially if you're a younger, newer listener to talk radio. That, what this guy told you, he is an economic advisor to Joe Biden. He lied on national television. John Roberts is saying, well, gas prices were going up prior to the Russia invasion of Ukraine. And this guy, you heard him say, no, they weren't. If you have a 5-year-old at your disposal right now, a 5 or 6-year-old.
Maybe that was a poor choice of words.
That didn't come out the way I had intended it, man. And you can go to a million different websites and look at gas. As a matter of fact, I'll hold one up here if you're watching on our YouTube channel. And you will see there are the gas prices during the tragic events of January the 20th, 2021, gas prices. And you start to zoom on in this, okay? And like January 23rd, gas goes up 2 cents. By the end of January, average price of gasoline, it had been going up since January 20th, 2021. And you heard this guy, he just flat out lied on national television. By the way, John Roberts from Fox News, I wish we had the benefit of the video here because the video is just absolutely beautiful. John Roberts going, like when you lie to your parents and it's such a stupid, asinine lie when you were a kid, and they would just kind of look at you and shake their head. And in that combination of disappointment and a confused puppy dog, that's John Roberts' reaction.
And also trying not to laugh a little bit.
Yeah. He just lied.
Intervening in the energy market in Europe. No, they actually weren't.
No.
That is a lie. This is not a conservative talking point. The fact, the undisputed fact, this guy is lying to you, man. So then check this out. This Amos Hochstein. Then he goes, so that's on Fox. So then he goes on to CNN. Maybe he'll have better luck there. The word he uses, check this out.
Today, they're at about $95, so a $25 decline almost in oil prices. That's quite remarkable. And
it's quite remarkable. No, it's not. Hannah, the producer, is always reminding us, because what are we down? We're now, most places, are we down below $4?
Most places that I've seen, yeah.
So we're down about $1, and some people are selling, gas prices are down. Yeah, but they're still like $1.80 higher than they were on January the 19th of 2021, man. And this guy said, it's remarkable. Gas is only $4 a gallon. How about that? This guy is an idiot, man.
In I didn't hear the interview on CNN. It is intriguing, but when you're paying,
it's remarkable, Brian.
When you're paying those kind of fuel prices, that takes money out of any discretionary income that you'd have to maybe put aside some savings and things like that. Now, the President of the United States is insisting it's the greed from the oil companies, and he has told them, he's pretty much called out the head of Exxon, Chevron, and companies like that. But we'll see.
I'm gonna call Mosier's and say, hey, you're getting awfully greedy with your progressive soup. Why don't you lower the price on a can of soup, man? That's what I want you to do. It's It's not the gas producers. It's not these gas stations' fault. It's not Progressive's. It's not Moser's fault either.
And since I started driving, I don't really ever remember gas being above $4 in my whole life. I do remember at one point, one summer around the last recession, it got really high and we were having to go into Illinois. And I remember the first time I ever saw it above $4. And at that point, my husband and I were in a very different place. We were young, trying to pay off our law school loans, all of those things. And I remember sitting with an Excel spreadsheet and we were trying to decide, we have all these weddings to go to and which one are we going to have to skip? Because if we're paying $4, there's no more room to cut besides just choosing not to drive.
Let me tell you how this is affecting people like me, and we know how it's affecting people like Brian Houseworth, who lives on a golf course. He couldn't even golf last week. He was relegated to just dipping in his swimming pool. That's all he could do. That's what life is like for our news director, Brian Houseworth. Good morning.
It's great to see. And yes, there's no doubt it has taken a lot of discretionary income. There's no doubt about that. But it is tough. I do remember $4 a gallon gasoline, and I want to say it was 2008.
Yeah, that would have been the right time.
Yeah, 2008. And it would have been about either the end of, and again, I don't want to make it political, but either the end of President Bush term,
Obama was coming in.
Or Obama, or right, maybe between them, maybe both of them. But it was, and boy, that was very. Now that one, there were definitely more serious calls about oil, possibly some. I don't know what the gas price gouging. There were, outside of the president, I haven't heard anybody else say it, but in those days, I think there were actually some more calls from Congress on that.
Yeah, no, it's astronomical. And I don't think the prices persisted in 2008 for as long as we've had to deal with this horrible gas price here this year.
And this is interesting, too. Last week I was in Idaho seeing the kids, and we drove from Idaho into Washington and Oregon. Idaho, ruby red. Washington and Oregon aren't. And you see the policies not only of how things happen on a national, international level, but then these policies that they have in these very progressive liberal states like Washington and Oregon. It's great. You cross the state line from a conservative state of Idaho and you go into Oregon and you're like, boom! It's like getting kicked in the groin. Welcome to the show. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Hannah, the producer, is here.
Good morning.
Brian Houseworth is the news director for the Zimmer Radio Network. My name is Branden Rathert. Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, is supposed to make a major announcement this morning. And I don't know if there's a lot of times when they have these major announcements, people kind of jack you around sometimes. And sometimes, like when you have a friend that's, because it could be a major announcement. Well, what did Trump do the other day, for example? I'm going to have an announcement regarding my endorsement in the U.S. Senate race in Missouri. And what did he do? He I feel like he played some people. As one of the biggest, outside of Trump and Sean Hannity and Rudy Giuliani, was one of the biggest Trump fans there were. And I feel like he played us a little bit. And I get it, not in a bad way. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good, Donald. I like where your head's at.
Now, Brandon, you might not fully understand this, but I'm sure Stephanie will. Anytime a woman posts that she has an announcement to make, everyone automatically assumes that it's a pregnancy announcement.
Yes.
Have you ever noticed that?
Well, so if one of you girls said, hey, I've got a big announcement, I'd be like, Stephanie's going to have a fourth child?
Thanks for taking that bullet, Stephanie.
No. And I did post, Mr. Bell and I have a lot of things going on, so we are going to have some news here coming up, so there'll be more about that. And so I know, but I did get lots of texts that said, are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? And I said, have you seen my third child? I have managed to clone myself, only like with darker eyes and tanner skin. Like I can't do better than that. I just can't.
But no, anytime a woman says that she has an announcement, everyone's brain automatically jumps to, oh, it must be a pregnancy announcement. And I just wonder why.
So if Brandon came in and was like, I have a big announcement, I think we need input from the listeners on this. If Brandon suddenly said, I have a big announcement coming up at 8:00 today, what do you think it would be?
I think my brain immediately jumps to maybe he's got a woman finally.
Oh. I got several.
Mine is maybe he's wearing closed-toed shoes.
That is interesting because if Hannah or Steph comes in, hey, we got a big announcement. Oh, you're gonna have a child. But if a dude comes in, I have a big announcement. What would it be? I would think if I were to ever say I've got a big announcement, it would be I'm moving to Idaho to go be with the grandkids. That's the only thing I would ever think that would be worth saying.
We're not accepting that.
Yeah, denied.
That's the only thing I could ever imagine. So Ron DeSantis, and by the way, latest polling shows Trump DeSantis 2024 neck and neck, and here it is. It's 2022, and we're just 2 days past the Missouri primaries. Coming up this morning, I hope you'll join us 7:35. Patrick Ishmael from the Show Me Institute. He's going to be joining us on the show. Show Me Institute. If you ever get a chance, check out what they do. Man, this is some really, really smart stuff. What they do.
The text messages are rolling in. Tom texted us at 874-9390. He said, heard you were getting married, Brandon. What's up with that? Do you have anything to tell us?
No.
Or is Tom trolling?
I think he's trolling. But that, you know what? That is actually so. Show Me Institute. They're here 7:35, and what they did is went to various cities all across Missouri, including right here in mid-Missouri, and did like Sunshine Request. And we saw this in the city of Columbia's public school district, parents making sunshine requests and how important and challenging that could be, and there's costs that can be associated with it. So they did it was almost like an experiment. Mm-hmm. It's pretty fascinating.
Oh, yeah. I love the Show Me Institute. Full disclosure, I sit on their advisory board, so I'm a big fan. But they're leading the way on some of this education stuff. When we had Representative Reich on the show, they put out these, they used the DESI data in a way that you can now get onto a website and learn information about your own school district. So from that to, stuff on the economy, we talked to Aaron Hedlund a lot. He works with the Show Me Institute. But their initiatives on transparency and how they are holding folks accountable really matter. And I think it has helped shape the way that you can get information in Missouri.
By the way, I do have an announcement.
Great.
But I can't tell you until like 5 minutes from now. I'm kidding. Hey, before we do move, that is it. I've never thought about that, you guys. When a woman says she has a big announcement, most people, I think, automatically assume she's going to, I think, either babies or they're getting married if she ain't already married. And then if a guy says he has a big announcement, there's no expectation of what he might be saying. So Stephanie's come up with an interesting idea. What would, if a dude like me were saying, hey, I got a big announcement. We know Hannah's big announcement recently. She got engaged. Stephanie, and she's left-handed all of a sudden.
It's so weird. So
right. I just don't, I don't know. So text 874-9390. Let's see, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, he could go to any nightclub in America. Him and Trump, they'd be like Abbott and Costello. He's talking about this Inflation Reduction Act, which is not inflation reduction. Check on his reaction.
I don't think that he wants more Americans to have to live in a tent behind Whataburger.
I don't think he wants Americans to live in a tent behind Whataburger. Love that from the senator from Louisiana. Coming up 5 minutes from now here on 93.9 The Eagle. Hey, you know the saying, right? Karma is a real...
Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9 The Eagle.
Our country stands at a crossroads with our democracy at stake, with a runaway Supreme Court upending 50 years of precedent and eliminating women's right to choose, and an insurrectionist Republican Party for the first time in our history trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Now, therefore, I am leading the fight to stop this, and I have passed the 2 impeachments. In leading this, I've impeached Bush twice.
Democratic Congressman from New York, Jerry Nadler, he's doing a debate yesterday, and I impeached President Bush twice. Real intelligent dude. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Karma is a fill in the blank. Karma is a real...
Whoa.
Silence. Woman in Texas, some dude, funny, not funny, tried shooting some gal.
Not funny.
That's the not funny part.
Wow, way to set that one up. Good job.
Good work, Joe Jr. The funny part was the bullet, like ricocheted, killed him. Trying to shoot somebody else. Ended up ricocheting.
It's poetic justice.
Poetic justice is karma is a real... And there's proof. Welcome into the show. Something we can do for you today. Let us know. 874-9390. 874-9390. Interesting thing. Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is supposed to be, he's making an announcement that he's going to be making an announcement later today. And, of course, folks are, all abuzz. Is he going to announce it? Is he making it official 2024? But we got to talking about, because Stephanie Bell soon will be having a big announcement. And... right away, Hannah thought...
No, I didn't think this. But anytime a woman posts that she has an announcement, people's brains automatically jump to pregnancy. And so I told Steph, I said, people are 1,000% going to think that this is a pregnancy announcement.
So the interesting thing is, if a dude, besides DeSantis, but if a dude says, hey, I have a big announcement, what do you expect? What are the expectations there? 874-9390. Anything interesting on the text?
Brett says, I just tuned in and heard you were pregnant, Branden. Congratulations.
Who's the daddy?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Chuck the truck driver says when a guy does that, it's usually followed up by I quit.
Oh, yeah, you could have won the lottery. That's a good announcement. Like, I have an announcement, guys. Last week, that ticket in Illinois, I was driving through. I actually bought it, and I'm out of here.
I got $1 billion. People always, hey, if you won the lottery, would you, retire? I said, no, I just quit. Two different things. And so, see, already, so people that are just tuning in, well, what's going on? Dwayne is saying, I just started listening. Okay, you guys aren't leaving, are you? We don't have a big announcement. Stephanie, is your big announcement, you're not moving, you're not leaving the show?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the show.
All right. But see, isn't that weird? And we can see, and we share this with you here on Wake Up Columbia, what people are saying via our text at 874-9390. People hear bits, but somebody has a big announcement. What is it? Ooh. And our brain starts kind of taking us to the sometimes worst case scenario or to the obvious.
But see, you're kind of dogging on DeSantis for announcing an announcement, but sometimes it's the anticipation, Branden, that's better than the real thing.
It's the tease.
Travis wants to know if Stephanie's running for president and if he can be your vice president.
All right, Travis, we'll do it together. I like it.
But we don't have any big announcements here on the show. Nobody's leaving.
Well, no, I'm kidding.
Wait, do we
have a new name? You announced that we have a new name.
Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
I just like making you paranoid.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
All right, let's move forward to the next thing. What is the next thing? Oh, coming up, Governor Parson was in the town of Columbia yesterday, and I love that he did something yesterday. As a matter of fact, our news director, Brian Houseworth, was chatting with him, and the governor said something, and it was kind of like, well, Brian, just so you know, here's kind of some of my story. And I think it's cool because whenever people talk about some of those things, I think it makes it, other people can go, Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to cover that coming up at 7:10, then 7:25. What's hot today with Hannah? I'll tell you what's hot. Big announcements. All right, I got to lay off that. There's no big announcements here, all right? We're good. Good morning. Hitachi Energy in Jefferson City. Check this out. A lot of times you get a new job. You got to wait for all those great benefits. Not at Hitachi Energy because they value all of their employees, even the new ones, which is why pay starts at $21 to $25 an hour with a $3,000 phased signing bonus. Benefits day one. Hitachi Energy not only inspires the world, you inspire them. So apply today in Jeff City or online at HitachiEnergy.com. They are inspiring the next workforce to power the world, and it all starts with their facility. It's climate controlled for all seasons, which means it will always be a comfortable place to work, and not every facility around can say that. Let Hitachi inspire the next step in your career. Hitachi Energy's pay starts $21 an hour, benefits starting on day one. So apply today in Jefferson City. The other thing you can do is you can apply online, HitachiEnergy.com/careers. So inspire your future, inspire the next. Hitachi Energy.
China is playing war games all around Taiwan. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It's conducting live fire drills that include missile launches in the air and the sea around the island nation China claims is its territory.
This is all happening just mere miles away from the island's coast. It is raising major concerns over a misfire and whether or not this is a dry run of a possible invasion.
Fox's Aisha Hasni.
The U.S. has several warships nearby watching closely. The NSC says the Biden administration will not engage in saber rattling, but they are prepared to manage whatever Beijing chooses to do.
China reacting to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to Taiwan. She's now in South Korea.
It's about fighting the pandemic. It's about saving the planet. So many things to discuss.
That also includes the nuclear threat from neighboring North Korea. Now, Russia says China has the sovereign right to hold those military drills, blaming Pelosi for provoking tension. Because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, two more countries are on the brink of joining NATO.
I applaud the leaders of Sweden and Finland who made a bold choice.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, only one senator voted no in the overwhelming U.S. approval for Finland and Sweden to join NATO. All NATO members have to give the okay. A congresswoman is being mourned in Indiana the day after Republican Jackie Walorski was killed in her home district.
When a driver reportedly veered into Walorski's lane, 27-year-old Zachary Potts and 28-year-old Emma Thompson were both aides of Walorski and were also killed in that crash. Now, the sole driver of the other vehicle, 56-year-old Edith Schmucker, was pronounced dead at the scene.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. President Biden signed an executive order to make it easier for women to travel to different states to have abortions.
We are doing all we can in my administration to protect the rights of health and safety.
America's listening to Fox News.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been supporting America's heroes and their families since 9/11. U.S. Army Specialist Jason Wheeler is one such hero. He re-enlisted after 9/11, but training accident injuries left him unable to walk. Specialist Wheeler and his family received a mortgage-free smart home that's custom designed for his needs. Help heroes like Jason and their families. Join Tunnel to Towers' mission to do good in their honor. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. 7:03 is our time right now. Robinson saves you time. We're expecting a high today of around 90 degrees, partly sunny skies. We did have some patchy fog in parts of the listening area this morning. Looks like that has burned off right now. The overnight low down tonight will get down to around 71 degrees. 74 right now in Columbia. Good morning. I'm Brian Houseworth. Here are some of the stories we are working on for you on this busy Thursday morning. Missouri's governor says $2.5 million in funding for tobacco cessation will be used to develop programs to protect minors from illegal sales of tobacco products. Governor Mike Parson traveling to Mizzou and Columbia. He made Wednesday's announcement. He notes it is the largest single investment into tobacco cessation in state history. Now, to put this in perspective, right now, $50,000 in state general revenue money goes into tobacco cessation. Under the governor's plan that is going to go into effect today, it goes up to $2.5 million. The governor made an announcement yesterday that he has never revealed before. He announced to the crowd, a lot of them were former smokers that have cancer, that he is a former smoker. I asked the governor about that announcement and why he talked about it.
You know, I did go through that, and it's not something I'm proud of, but, you know, I'm like a lot of other people. You know, I grew up on a farm, I grew up in a rural area, and sometimes you just do it just because it's the thing to do. Kids do it just because it's cool. They want to be cool.
Governor says it's very important to get this money into the hands of the healthcare professionals to develop these programs. MU Healthcare is praising Governor Parsons' announcement, saying the funding boost will save Missouri $21 million in future health care costs. There was another speaker who has been suffering from cancer, another man who spoke, had his voice box removed. He'd been smoking for more than 30 years. We'll hear more from the governor coming up at the bottom of the hour. Meantime, federal prosecutors say a Centralia man is facing felony and misdemeanor charges this morning for the January 6th Capitol breach in Washington, D.C. ABC 17's Marina Diaz reports 36-year-old Jared Barger has been arrested in Osage Beach. He is out of custody this morning.
Jared Barger is the second mid-Missouri man charged in connection to the January 6th breach of the United States Capitol. A federal prosecutor charged Barger with a felony crime of bringing a gun onto U.S. Capitol grounds. According to court documents, Barger allegedly brought a loaded gun illegally across state lines and into the District of Columbia, where he did not have a license to carry. Police there found the gun on the ground during the riot outside of the Capitol building.
That is ABC 17's Marina Diaz from our reporter partner there at KMIZ. We thank you, Marina. Federal prosecutors say Barger's alleged actions and the actions of others disrupted a joint session of Congress relating to the counting of electoral votes. Again, he is from Centralia, northern Boone County. Missouri Secretary of State says 24.3% of registered voters went to the polls for the primary on Tuesday. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft notes that while many of you went to the polls Tuesday, many others did not. He says voting is not only a right, but also a responsibility. And he also thanks the thousands of poll workers across the state who made it possible for the election to happen. And readers of Inside Columbia magazine, which is a part of our Zimmer Communications family, recently voted Como Smoke and Fire the best barbecue in town. Now, you'll soon have a second location to enjoy Como Smoke and Fire's famous pork steaks and sides. They currently have that facility on Paris Road, which is also Route B on the north side of Columbia. Inside Columbia, Zola Crowder reporting they have begun demolishing the former Buckingham's location near Nifong. Buckingham sold to Como Smoke and Fire in April after 24 years in business. Zola reporting the new Como Smoke and Fire location is expected to open in October. This area is near Nifong. There's an Andes frozen custard in that area. There's also a stereo shop in that area as well. Again, they're looking at October, weather permitting. News is brought to you this morning by The Candy Factory. You can learn more at thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. Turning our attention now to sports. Cardinal baseball last night, a lot of interest, quite frankly, in the weather. Some fans did not like the fact that the game was called last night. But again, there were parts of St. Louis City and County that did have heavy rain. Some of the heaviest rain just didn't make it to Busch Stadium. To remind fans, the umpires make these decisions in consultation with the team, and the number one factor they look at is safety. So that's why they made that decision last night to cancel the game. They're going to play a rare day-night doubleheader today at Busch Stadium. First pitch in the first game, 12:15 today, right here on 93.9 The Eagle. And if you had a ticket for last night's game, it'll be valid for the 12:15 game. Miles Michaelis will be on the mound. Tom Ackerman at our facility in St. Louis. We'll be having the pregame show for you coming up this morning on the pregame. He'll also have the pregame of the night game tonight. Tom working a double shift. Second game tonight, 6:45. You'll hear it on the Eagle as well. White Sox beat the Royals last night 4-1. Lance Lynn earning the win. In Mizzou football has announced that the fan night in Flick on Faurot Field in Columbia will be Saturday, August 20th. You'll be able to go on Faurot and visit Faurot that evening. Gates open at 6:30. Practice 7 to 8:30 that evening. They'll show a movie at 8 o'clock. Our news time, 7:09. John, thank you. Great work on television this morning with Megan Drakis. As always, we have a clear sky, 74. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com, 7:09 is our time. Just a heads up, we got a lot of you that listen to us that work at Veterans United, south part of Columbia. There's an MU healthcare clinic and a lot of other employees in that area. Public Works in Columbia is telling me East Southampton Drive, apparently with all of the heat and the high temperatures, they've had a crack that has formed across all 3 lanes of East Southampton Drive. They're literally going to have to dig up and replace the roadway. It's that bad, so they're going to start work on that Monday morning at 7 o'clock. I'm not aware of any other instances in town. They're not going to have to close sidewalks, but you will see a lot of flaggers in that area, traffic control. They're going to start putting message boards up sometime today after 8 o'clock, but you're hearing it here first. The road is literally cracking. 7:10 our time, 93.9 The Eagle.
When the Supreme Court made this extreme decision to take away a constitutional right, it was an unconstitutional action by them.
What? I'm going to have to defer to our attorney on staff here, Stephanie Bell. That's the White House spokesperson saying Supreme Court's ruling, specifically they're talking about the Hobbs decision. She is saying...
The Dobbs decision.
The Dobbs decision. I said Hobbs. I'm thinking of the cartoon Calvin and Hobbes. The Dobbs decision. She said what the Supreme Court did was unconstitutional?
Yeah, that's a no for me.
That's a no. I mean, it is. I just again, I see these folks on Twitter. I saw one that said they need to appeal the decision.
We need to start a GoFundMe page and fix this.
What's clear is we need better civics education.
Yeah,
get on to petition.org. We need to sign petitions to overturn this.
I think she probably meant that they're going to appeal to the Congress to take action and maybe codify, but she is saying that basically their decision is unconstitutional. That didn't come out quite, I think, what she meant.
Maybe it did come out as she meant, and now we really should be afraid.
When our nonpartisan, non-biased news director of the entire Zimmer Radio Network says, that's a solid no for me on that White House, then you know it's that bad. Heck, you might be going somewhere at 7:12 here in the morning, and you've got your third grader in the car with you, and the third grader is sitting there. Yeah, that's a solid no for me too, Mom. That woman's an idiot, whoever that White House spokesperson is. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. My name is Branden Rathert, and to my left. Now, did we change? I want to be, because we are going through some changes here. Did we change our YouTube channel?
We did.
Okay.
So we are no longer on the 93.9 The Eagle YouTube channel.
So the radio station, 93.9 The Eagle, they kicked us off, said, you guys got to get your own channel.
Well, it's still the same channel. I just renamed it to Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert.
All right, so you got to Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and you can watch the show on YouTube.
But if you're already subscribed to us, you don't have to do anything differently.
And we've been getting some folks saying, did you guys change your name to Wake Up Mid-Missouri? And I asked them, I said, well, what made you think that? And we've been getting some folks saying, did you guys change it?
Forgive me here. I just pulled it up to see the name change. So yeah.
That's why you heard the double talk there.
Sorry about that.
He didn't believe us. He had to fact check us.
I always but I hadn't seen it. It looks good. It really looks good.
That's a good news director. We're talking. He is fact checking. That's why you heard double talk there, because he pulled the video feed up, and that's why you were hearing that for a second.
Trust but verify, I believe, is what a former president once said.
Reagan.
You know what else we did? If you go to the 93.9 The Eagle website and check out our show page, so at the top it says Wake Up Mid-Missouri. If you click on it, you can see our brand spanking new headshots, and we look good. I'm not gonna lie, we look good.
Well, can we give ourselves a round of applause? It's okay to pat yourself on the back once in a while.
I mean, we couldn't do much worse than the last photo shoot, and it was by no fault of our own, but literally it was a tornado.
Yeah, these were we chose the photo studio inside this time after last year's outdoor photo shoot.
It actually looked like Branden had hair, because my hair was so far up in the air over near him. Hannah's hair was like in my mouth. I mean, literally it was a tornado in downtown Columbia.
And then a guy walked into our photo shoot
smoking a cigarette.
To be fair, we were standing in the middle of the street.
That's true.
In that guy's defense.
Didn't we post video of it? Because the guy, we're doing video, and we're trying to, I don't know, we were just trying to do something, and this guy he just walks behind us smoking a cigarette like, what are y'all doing? It was insane. So, and I hope we're not taking you too much behind the scenes. I want to get to something that Governor Mike Parson did in town yesterday. But, okay, so the YouTube channel, you can watch Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Now, what about the Facebook page? We've got new pictures on our website for Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Facebook page.
It's still the same name because Facebook hasn't approved our name change yet.
Wow. Let's get Mark Zuckerberg on the phone.
I know. I did that on Monday, so we're going on 3 days.
All right, and so we'll have new pictures up there soon and all that good stuff. So people have been asking me, they said, have you changed the name to Wake Up Mid-Missouri? And I said, well, what makes you think that? And they said, because you're saying, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Now, I did change our profile picture to your new headshot, and you got some love on that picture.
You're looking good. You got a blue jacket. You got a tan. You've been working on it.
Look good.
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm kidding.
People were pointing out that because it's a headshot, you can't actually see your flip-flops, which we posted in different photo.
Thank God.
I would have preferred closed-toed shoes for a nice dress-up day, but
and I do, but that's how I wear the flip-flops, man. I can't. I want to go. I'm serious. Like the next big event, I was this close. I'll be in a suit and want to go in flip-flops because that's what's comfortable.
This picture of you with no caption or anything has 188 likes.
Ooh.
Wow.
And 45 comments.
Wow.
You should use that as your one of your profiles.
I'm not. I don't do that.
On your submission for the Bachelorette, right?
No. Where was I? So if you're watching, on our YouTube channel, you'll see Stephanie on the channel to my right, high-powered attorney. Do you like that phrase? And do people get upset when you say high-powered attorney? Is that like a term of affection, or is that kind of like a backhanded insult?
I don't mind it.
Okay.
I think it fits.
Hashtag boss lady.
And then you will see Brian Houseworth, who is dressed today like he's the offensive lineman coach for the Cleveland Browns or something, all decked out in brown today.
I'm getting ready to call in a play to Brian Sipe and Greg Pruitt from the Cleveland Browns, 1979.
And then there is Hannah, the producer. She is the glue that's holding all of this together this morning.
Hello.
And she's left-handed all of a sudden because she recently got engaged. And every time you talk to her, she's like, oh, my. Oh, my.
So I posted a TikTok on my personal TikTok the other day, and it was me talking. And I watched it back when I was done, and I was waving my left hand in front of my face the entire time, completely on accident. So I had to put a little disclaimer at the end of my TikTok, like, I watched it back. I saw what I was doing. I apologize.
Hey, I want to highlight something Governor Parson did. He was in the town of Columbia yesterday, and he was announcing money to help people quit smoking and things like that. And I don't know if I'm a big fan of taking my taxpayer dollars to help people. If I want people to quit smoking, the first thing I would do is I would help my dad quit smoking. But he's 72 years old. He's kind of stuck in his ways, and I don't think he's going to quit smoking, and that's fine. Nothing I can do about that now. I've been begging him since he was 5 years old. Dad, please quit smoking, and he ain't going to do it. I would rather take my own personal money and say, Dad, try. And he's quit. But so we're going to take taxpayer money, help people quit smoking. But beyond that, you were having a conversation with him yesterday, and I thought this is really cool.
You know, one thing the governor pointed out, and he said it, and I don't think any other reporters caught it. I did immediately. He said that I'm a former smoker, and he paused, and he said my staff didn't really want me to talk about this, but he explained it. He later explained to me he was kind of joking about the staff, but he has never said publicly that he's a former smoker, but he really opened up about that. And I talked to him after the basically the announcement there at MU Healthcare yesterday, and I told him you've never talked about that publicly. And I say he didn't choke up, but he got a little emotional when he said that to the audience because there's a guy named Don Young that spoke. An incredible story. The governor, I said that it seemed personal to you, and he said it was. He said he grew up on a farm. He grew up in a rural area. Basically, what he said, Brandon, is that almost everybody his age on a farm smoked. It was what you did. And he said he stopped when he had his grandchild. He didn't want his first grandchild to be exposed to secondhand smoke. And just real quick on Don Young, the governor was really touched by Don Young's speech. Don Young had that voice box removed. There were a lot of people in the audience that had tears in their eyes. You can barely hear him. I don't know how to describe it. He sounds like he's talking off a computer. Yeah. It was very hard to listen to. But the governor opened up about that because he wants to send a message. And a lot of speakers are alleging the tobacco companies are marketing to the kids. They're trying to get them onto the cigarettes and this vaping as well. There were several allegations of that.
So what I appreciated about Governor Parsons, because you meet people and you think, man, this perfect individual I see in front of me today, we don't know about things that they've done in their past. And I'm not saying smoking's a horrible thing, but you think of Governor Mike Parson and you don't think of somebody who's flipping out a box of Marlboro Reds and lighting up once in a while. You just don't. That's not the image you have of our governor. Right. But here's the power in that. I think when he says, yeah, I used to smoke, I think there's a lot of power in saying some of those uncomfortable things that we've been through. And I'll give you the perfect example. One of the former chancellors at Mizzou, Cartwright, Dr. Alexander Cartwright.
Who's in Orlando now, right?
He sat right here in this studio, and it was our good friend Brad Trinago sitting right where you are, and I think it was Laura Nauser sitting where Stephanie Bell was, and Hannah, who's been there forever, and I was sitting here. And this chancellor at University of Missouri talked about dropping out of high school and getting his GED. Mm-hmm. And for years, that's something, because I didn't drop out of high school. I just didn't go back one summer. So I didn't drop out. But I would never admit that because, you think people have this image of you and they think, and I did, I went to college and everything, but I would never admit that. But you had a chancellor at Mizzou saying, I dropped out of high school. I went and got my GED, and now I'm a chancellor at a big-time university. Him sharing that then makes it okay for me to share that. In my experience in sharing something like that, or even other more serious things, I think there is power in that. So I just wanted to make sure we gave
No
some
doubt.
kudos there.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we're going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah. What's smoking today?
Brian Houseworth might be disappointed because there's some big soap opera news that's not good.
All right, why is
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri, featuring Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
Should President Biden run again in 2024?
All right, so that's a debate in New York. Jerry Nadler and his 12th congressional district opponent, they are in a debate. The question is, should Joe Biden run for president? Now, Jerry Nadler and this is the Democrat primary in New York. They're asking them, should Joe Biden run again? How did Jerry Nadler answer that question?
Mr. Nadler.
Too early to say. It doesn't serve the purpose of the Democratic Party to deal with that until after the midterms.
If you're a Democrat, Stephanie, what's the proper answer to the question? When you're in a televised debate in the largest media market in America, you're a Democrat, you are asked, should Joe Biden run for president? And again, what's the correct answer?
Well, anybody but Joe Biden, the correct answer is yes. But if I'm worried about getting elected, then my answer might be different.
Question posed to the opponent, another Democrat.
Ms. Maloney.
I don't believe he's running for re-election.
So I don't believe he's running. Well, that wasn't the question. The question is, do you think he should? Again, that's just kind of giving more and more the pulse of what's happening in the Democrat Party and how bad it is for Joe. So it's not just conservatives that are saying, oh, man, Joe sucks. It's everybody realizes this has been a major, catastrophic failure. Right now it's 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
Anybody who's a big fan of soap operas might be really disappointed here coming up. NBC has announced that Days of Our Lives will be moving to their streaming platform, Peacock, and will no longer be on television during the day, like on your cable TV.
What?
Yeah, it's been on the air for 60 years, and in 2020, they celebrated their 14,000th episode.
And what's crazy is I didn't know that there were even these soap operas on the TV anymore. Now, when I was a little kid, since we only had 4 channels, ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS, guess what I did during the summers when I was at home with my mama? I watched the ABC, I think it was the soaps that were on ABC, General Hospital, and all that stuff.
Anytime my grandparents, babysat us, we always ended up watching one of the soap operas. And I just remember hating it, being bored out of my head.
Days of Our Lives. Remember this theme? This is a classic theme. Days of Our Lives.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Biden orders American flags nationwide to be flown at half-staff in honor of Indiana House Republican Jackie Walorski, killed in a car crash in Indiana.
A driver reportedly veered into Walorski's lane. Zachary Potts and Emma Thompson were both aides of Walorski and were also killed in that crash. Now, the sole driver of the other vehicle, 56-year-old Edith Schmucker, was pronounced dead at the scene.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. The Chinese military is conducting live fire drills off Taiwan a day after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi left there. China considers Taiwan its territory. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. position acknowledging that claim has not changed.
And I hope very much that Beijing will not manufacture a crisis or seek a pretext to increase its aggressive military activity.
Secretary Blinken in Cambodia. Speaker Pelosi is in South Korea now. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Houseworth on 93.9 The Eagle. Opinions on social issues? We throw those around too. Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Can we make that as the show opening now for Wake Up Mid-Missouri? Wouldn't that be super true? I love the beginning here. This would be perfect for us, Hannah.
No.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Welcome to Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I like it.
Well, and here's the thing. There is another version of that is my favorite version.
Hold up, Brian. Let us all digest this for a second.
So earlier when I said Brian Houseworth was going to be upset, I was kind of just poking fun at him. But when he came in before his news break, he's like, "What happened with Days of Our Lives?"
It really, I get emotional when I hear it because I grew up hearing that. But the McDonald, there's a version of that
Hold on
McDonald
just a second.
carry.
Hold on just a second. Hey, Patrick, are you there, bud?
Yes, I am.
Okay, are you cool to hang here for a second while we talk about our favorites? Are you cool?
Yo, yeah, no. This is very interesting.
Because you heard our news director, by the way, Patrick Ishmael from the Show Me Institute. Fascinating stuff we're going to be talking about here. But you just heard the news director of the entire Zimmer Radio Network say he's got a favorite version of the theme song from that soap opera. You heard that, right?
I did.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
McDonald Carey was the version of it. McDonald Carey, who was a huge actor back in the probably 60s. But yes, he's my favorite version. And for the older people out there, they'll know who I'm talking about. He was the one my grandma and grandpa just absolutely loved. I mean, he was huge. And I'm just kind of sad about that. But what the final thing I'd say about it, in the 1970s.
Don't cry, Brian. Because we're all laughing. We're going to bring the room down. And we've got the Show Me Institute talking about
absolutely.
Sunshine Request. Don't make us cry.
I won't cry, but it brings back so many great memories. But in the 1970s, when I would ride my bike, and I believe it came on at noon. When you drive by the neighborhood at noon, I swear every single television, because the windows weighed down, would be McDonald Carey reading that intro. It was amazing. Their ratings must have been through the roof.
Sorry to ruin your day, Brian. Didn't mean to.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad. I'm bummed out now.
So the reason we're on this, Patrick Ishmael, Show Me, every morning 7:25-ish, we do What's Hot with Hannah, just something people are talking about. And apparently I didn't even know there were soap operas still on network TV. One of them's coming down. But now I do. I gotta back my boy Brian here, because I too have a favorite soap opera theme song.
Oh,
The Young and the Restless.
Henry Mancini.
Oh man, I love that. Patrick, let me ask you, how old are you, man?
I am 38, going on 39.
So you probably never have had the joys that Brian Houseworth and I have shared. Summer times in South St. Louis watching General Hospital and Days of Our Lives and As the World Turns.
I do remember in the early 90s, I mean, it seemed like every network station had their own soap opera. So it had crossed my path a few different times. And I'll be honest, like, there is something kind of pure about soap opera TV. You know, it is episodic. And certainly when I think of soap operas, I'd rather have it on my TV than in, Jefferson City or Washington, D.C. So at least, like, when you have soap opera TV, you know what you're getting into and you're expecting going into it. But when you talk about politics, you kind of know what you're getting into, but you'd rather it not be there.
All right, Patrick, how much time do you have here? And I'm being serious now.
I got plenty of time.
Okay. Because I want to take a phone call here from listener Ann real quick, who wants to talk about soap operas. Ann, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle. What can we do for you?
Well, in the 70s, at the sorority house, you had to get to the TV room early to get a seat because nobody had classes scheduled around Days of Our Lives. We all were there watching it.
That is just amazing.
I know Brian Houseworth stepped out, but he's over here in my studio going, yep, that's right.
Hey, and know that everybody here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be a part of the show, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Patrick Ishmael. from the Show Me Institute came on to talk about classic soap operas from the 70s this morning on the show. No, seriously, the Show Me Institute, if you're one of those, Patrick, I'll tell you this, we have an influx of new listeners, younger listeners, regretful Biden voters, and we're welcoming them. We're not being critical of these regretful Biden voters that have been listening. And one of the things I think that Stephanie and I have been trying to do is explain, okay, when A happens, then B happens, and then this is how this affects you. So if you're one of those, you're a regretful Biden voter, you're just trying to learn how things work, and sometimes we need some of these things really explained to us. Check out what they do at the Show Me Institute. They do remarkable work. As a matter of fact, one of their latest projects, and I'm kind of positing this, Patrick, as you guys kind of did an experiment as it relates to sunshine request. Do I have the right vibe on that?
Yeah, so we've done these for a few years now. I think the first one we did, at least en masse, was probably 5 years ago. And the idea behind it, in Missouri and in a lot of states, there are laws called sunshine laws. And what it allows you to do is to make direct requests to state and local government and ask them, for certain documents that are being created, with taxpayer money. But what we realized pretty early on is we started a request with the state and asked, how are you spending money, and got records for, like 2 decades, $35 billion, lots and lots and lots of spending. But we realized pretty early on that local government was not getting nearly as much scrutiny. And that's a big deal because the state spends $35 billion a year, but local government spends about $35 billion a year, but it's across basically thousands of entities. And so we started asking for checkbooks. We started asking for collective bargaining agreements. We started asking for curricula. And, in the last month, we've renewed those projects. We do them, maybe every year or every other year, just to, keep up with everybody. But we restarted the checkbook project last month, and then we restarted the curricula project, asking school districts, what they're teaching kids. And the results are always really fascinating, and the process is always really fascinating because you might have a right to make those requests, but districts and cities don't always respond the way that you'd like.
Patrick Ishmael, Show Me Institute, talking about sunshine requests and this thing that they've been doing for several years now. And I'm curious because this is really, and I'll tell you, Patrick, over the past year and a half, almost 2 years, we have had hundreds, if not thousands of parents. We've got some 40,000 parents in the Columbia Public School District. And I don't know how many hundreds or thousands or however many people, but the stories we have heard, people trying to get sunshine requests through the leadership and the administration within the Columbia Public School District, consistent without fail. It seemed like they would put up every single hurdle possible to make it difficult for the parent to get information on them. And then we've got, then you look at Southern Boone School District, and it's a complete flip-flop. Why do things like that happen?
That's a great question. And, there are about 520 school districts across the state. So we have a lot of data to work from and, to look at patterns. And by and large, most districts say that they're not teaching any of this content, which may or may not be true. We had St. Louis Public School District say that they weren't. But we had records already that showed that they had, and until we confronted them about it, they kept saying that they didn't have them. So you could have a district that says they're not teaching it, and in reality, there may be evidence that they are. But generally speaking, we've been told that this content is not there, and sometimes we get records relating to this sort of CRT, critical race theory, curriculum content. Sometimes there are districts that try to price it out. We had at least 3 school districts this year try to charge us $200,000, like at $200,000 or above $200,000, to see what they were teaching kids, which was pretty remarkable. But I think the reason is, there are a lot of potential possibilities here. One of the reasons I think is that I think some districts are simply embarrassed. They don't want the scrutiny, and even if the content is there, I think that they just don't want it out in the wild.
And see, here's what I said. I don't mean to interrupt you real quick, but specifically with the Columbia Public School District, because a year ago, we had the superintendent on asking specifically about CRT and had to press him for 5 minutes. He basically lied. And then we've had the person who speaks on behalf of the Columbia Public School District call me a liar and say, well, tell me where I'm lying, and they don't do it. So I think when they're not responding to public records requests, do you find because they're trying to hide stuff?
I think that's always a distinct possibility. I think in the case of Columbia is really fascinating because you look at a district like the Kansas City Public School District, and they say overtly, explicitly to anyone that asks, we teach critical race theory, we teach 1690, we teach all these things. But with Columbia, when we made the request last year, we knew that Columbia had taken a grant to develop curriculum for the 1619 project. And, we published on this, but depending on who the district was talking to, it sounds like they were telling other people different things. But I'm looking at their grant application right now, and this is what they say that they're going to do. This is handwritten. Project teachers will develop standards-aligned units that engage their students in the 1619 project and other primary sources to strengthen existing curricula and practice media skills. Like, that's not ambiguous, and that's what the objective of this grant process had been. This was, started last year. And so the notion that the district would say, no, we're not teaching it, is that parsing? Because it's pretty clear that it is being taught, and they can say, well, it's not part of the curriculum, it's part of a smaller group or something like that. But, it's pretty clear that it's being taught, that it's intended to be taught, that it's, whether you say it's in the district-wide curriculum, maybe that's debatable, but obviously the intent is to put it into the district-wide curriculum. So, whether it's Columbia, you have a place like Hazelwood Public School District, which for the last 2 years has been very open, provided us with curriculum, evidence of CRT, but I appreciate the fact that they were open and honest with us. And that's really the intent of these projects, is to make sure that the public has access to these documents, whether it's spending information or whether it's curricula. This is stuff that is being produced with taxpayer money, and taxpayer money at its core is money that is taken from the public. And if you're going to have that kind of a right to take money from people, then you have to be open about what you're using that money to do. And, Columbia, I think the public school district ought to be more open about what they're doing in terms of teaching kids. And again, this is only just this grant. I haven't seen any other documents that suggest specifically that they're teaching other materials beyond the 1619 project. But I would, certainly their hesitance to be openly honest with the public completely about what's going on with the 1619 project grant certainly gives me a little bit of pause.
Well, and it's happened to me before. I got in a dispute with a local city, and I said on a personal level, and I wanted some documents, and they said, oh, that's going to be $100. And they thought I would just go away. And boy, the look on their face when I showed up with the $100 and said, I'm just petty enough to call your bluff. They didn't like that. But, you're talking about some bills being $200,000. Your website says other cities have said, $35,000, $25,000. When you're getting some of the cities saying, here it is for free, and other cities sending you a big bill, what do you do? What's your remedy? And if I'm a citizen, what do I do next?
Well, unfortunately, under the current Sunshine Law, there are some limitations to what you really can do. You can certainly file a lawsuit. You can file a complaint with the Attorney General's office, which we have done before. And we've actually filed lawsuits, too, on Sunshine issues. But it takes money. It takes a lot of time. And if you're just a regular citizen, when you're confronted with a bill, we're not even talking about $100,000 or, $120,000 was what Lee Summit Public School District wanted. Wow. Or, $35,000 or $25,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 or $1,000. If you're just looking for, a certain set of documents as a regular citizen, even $100 may prevent you from moving forward with it. And I think that's one of the weaknesses of the Sunshine Law, because even if you violate the Sunshine Law as a local government, the penalties are paltry. It's something like $5,000. And so I think a lot of these governments say, well, we'll roll the dice and we'll take our chances. And generally speaking, under the Sunshine Law, when they do that, I think they generally win. And they're able to keep these documents from the public. I think that you have to have mandatory transparency for a lot of these things. I think curriculum and lesson plans and even teacher trainings, I think districts should be publishing those just in the regular course of business. I think for cities, you have to require publishing of checkbooks. How exactly, itemized, like you would in a check register, how money is being spent and why.
Well, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of the work for us. So you're running down a lot of these checkbooks and other things. So if I want to find out what you've learned, where can I go?
Yeah, you go to showmeinstitute.org. Certainly, we are working very hard on this, but we would encourage the public to also be engaged with local government because it really does take a lot of attention to get a lot of these local governments to do the right thing. And so we can do our work, but we would love to see the public also pursue their local government similarly.
All right, Patrick Ishmael, Show Me Institute. We could hang it all day long. We are running out of time. Thank you so much for the info. I know a lot of parents, and this is not just about schools, by the way. It's about you getting government information. Website folks can go to if they want to learn more about what you guys do.
Yeah, showmeinstitute.org. We have the entire list and database of all of the documents that we've received from cities, from counties, from school districts, from everybody. Showmeinstitute.org.
No. Veto.
Steph gives it a double thumbs down. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert, joined by Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer. I love this local dude getting some love from Fox Business News, and there's now another little funny twist to this. So there's three things going on here. Number one, it's a local dude getting national coverage for something that's really good. It's a guy who works at Sam's Club in Missouri, and this started a couple years ago. Whenever people were going through toilet paper left and right, he started posting, hey, we've got somebody post pictures, and then milk, the formula shortages. And it's at Sam's Club in Columbia. So that's pretty cool. The guy's name is Chris Bell.
Not my Chris Bell.
Not Stephanie Bell's Chris Bell. Then the other thing is, I'm like, this is pretty cool, because we like to highlight the cool things here in mid-Missouri. And I'm wondering, how did Fox Business News get this? How did they get this? I haven't heard about this guy. I haven't seen this anywhere locally.
And I said, Branden, Breck wrote it. Remember? Wake Up Columbia family member Breck?
Breck Dumas. He used to be a part of the show. He's the one who, and it says right there, bye. And I'm like, oh, so
But he's helping people out, and I guess like the head of Sam's Club called him and said, thanks for being a rock star employee. Pretty cool.
That's very cool. We ought to feature this. Oh, by the way, coming up 8:10, Dr. Tobler is here. We have an incredible guest tomorrow I want to surprise you guys with. Pro Pumping and Hydro Jetting. Check out the website, pro-pumping.com. Here's the big thing to know about Pro Pumping and Hydro Jetting. They do septic tanks, lagoons, grease traps, things like that. As a matter of fact, I would bet, you go by some of the finest institutions in town, whether it's restaurants or whatever, it's probably the grease traps being cleaned out by Pro Pumping and Hydro Jetting. And I know you go, I don't care who cleans out the grease traps. I just care that this is my favorite restaurant. They serve good food. Well, that restaurant probably has been there for a while, and they've been there for a while because they've made some really good decisions over the years. They do things well, they do it to the best of their ability, and they're smart. So that tells me if they're the folks, they've been in business all these years, these restaurants, and they do things, they've made a series of smart decisions over the years. One of those smart decisions they have made is to hire Pro Pumping and Hydro Jetting. So I'm guessing that you can't go wrong. Check them out, Pro Pumping and Hydro Jetting, pro-pumping.com.
A jury will take a field trip. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, going to the scene of the crime, the 2018 massacre in Parkland, Florida.
I wish every single day that this was a nightmare that I could just wake up from.
Max Schachter's son, Alex, is one of the students murdered at a high school that still has bloodstains. The jury will see for themselves today as they decide if the gunman who pleaded guilty should get the death penalty.
The day in February 2018 when Nicholas Cruz shot and killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High. Ivy Shamus was a teacher.
It was a happy day because it was Valentine's Day and the kids were bringing in candy and stuffed animals.
And by afternoon, it turned bloody.
Fox's Eben Brown. In Texas, a jury's deliberating if Alex Jones should pay millions of dollars damages for the conspiracy theory he pushed on his shows that the 2012 massacre at a Connecticut elementary school that left 26 students and adults dead was a hoax. The lawyer for one of the families in the lawsuit, Mark Bankston, asked Jones yesterday,
Do you understand now that it was absolutely irresponsible of you to do that?
It was, especially since I met the parents, and
It's 100% real.
American basketball star Brittany Griner back in court in Russia, where a prosecutor in closing arguments pushed for a 9.5-year prison sentence for Griner having a cannabis oil vape cartridge that led to drug charges. The U.S. and Russia are considering a prisoner swap to free Griner and another American. China is making a lot of noise near Taiwan, conducting military drills near the island nation it claims to own, angry over House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit. She is now in South Korea. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Cambodia.
I hope very much that Beijing will not manufacture a crisis or seek a pretext to increase its aggressive military activity.
In direct, nuclear talks resumed today with Iran. The U.S. trying to negotiate rejoining the international nuclear deal President Trump pulled us out of. America's listening to Fox News.
Help the Tunnel to Towers Foundation do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like Misota's Familia, who couldn't wait to join the NYPD to protect her community. She proudly wore her uniform, but was ambushed and shot in the head in the line of duty, solely for the uniform she wore. She is survived by 3 children who received a mortgage-free home from Tunnel to Towers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We do have 74 degrees right now, and partly cloudy skies in Columbia. Partly cloudy skies as well in Jefferson City. 73 degrees in Jeff City. It's 72 right now in Fulton. Good morning, everyone, and here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. Missouri's governor right now will be heading shortly to the first meeting of the Drought Assessment Committee. It's been convening this morning in Jeff City as part of his executive order. Now, you'll recall that the governor about 2 to 3 weeks ago issued an executive order declaring a drought alert for 53 counties in southern and mid-Missouri. Boone, Cole, Cooper, Howard, all included in the governor's executive order. The governor telling Capitol reporters at the time that a drought can literally mean financial loss or ruin for Missouri farm families. He also notes that Missouri farmers have been facing high fertilizer costs and supply chain issues. So they're going to have their first meeting today. We have some farmers in our listening area that are not only dealing with record drought, they've also been dealing with record flooding. Those would be farmers specifically in Montgomery and Warren counties. Other areas are dealing with flooding altogether, and then some counties have had no rain and just a drought. A very unusual situation. Miller County is also included in the governor's drought alert. Director Chin is expected to attend this meeting as well today. That will be going on in Jefferson City. Meantime, speaking of the governor, he says $2.5 million in funding for tobacco cessation will be used to develop programs to protect minors from illegal sales of tobacco products. Governor Mike Parson traveling to MU Healthcare at Mizzou and Columbia to make the announcement Wednesday. He notes it's the largest single investment in tobacco cessation in state history. The governor also revealed to the audience for the first time that he's a former smoker.
You know, I did go through that, and it's not something I'm proud of, but, you know, I'm like a lot of other people. You know, I grew up on a farm, I grew up in a rural area, and sometimes you just do it just because it's the thing to do. Kids do it just because it's cool. They want to be cool.
MU Healthcare is praising the governor's announcement. They say this funding boost to $2.5 million will actually save Missouri $21 million in future health care costs. Federal prosecutors say a Centralia man this morning is facing federal charges, felony and misdemeanor, for the January 6th Capitol breach in Washington. 36-year-old Jared Barger, and it's spelled B-A-R-G-A-R, has been arrested in Osage Beach. He is out of custody this morning. Federal prosecutors say his alleged actions and the actions of others disrupted a joint session of the Congress Congress relating to the counting of electoral votes. A former Kansas City news anchor on television who is the GOP nominee for West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District seat is crediting dedicated volunteers for Tuesday's primary win. Mark Alford spoke on 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
And what we've been able to accomplish with our team and with the volunteers and the supporters, the 24 counties in this district, is simply phenomenal.
You can hear our full interview with him on our website, 939theeagle.com. Mr. Alford won a 7-way primary easily, more than 35% of the vote. He'll face Democrat Jack Truman of Lamar this fall. The sprawling district includes parts of Columbia, northern Boone County, Centralia, Hallsville, and also Sturgeon are also in this congressional district. And readers of Inside Columbia magazine recently voted Como Smoke and Fire the best barbecue in town. You're going to soon have a second location to enjoy Como Smoke and Fire's famous pork steaks and sides. Inside Columbia reporting they have begun demolishing the former Buckingham's location near Nifong. Buckingham sold to Como Smoke and Fire in April after 24 years in business. Zola Crowder, and we're so thrilled to have her on staff here at Zimmer. You saw her on television for a number of years. She's doing a fine job. She reports the new Como Smoke and Fire location is expected to open in October. We have more on this on our website, 939theeagle.com. Our news in this 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by First State Community Bank. First State Community Bank, you keep banking, we'll keep building. First State Community Bank. Community strong. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:07. In sports, we're going to start this hour with Mizzou football since we don't have a Cardinal game to recap from last night due to the heavy rain in St. Louis. Mizzou football will have the fan night and flick at Faurot Field in Columbia Saturday, August the 20th. Now, fans of all ages are invited to visit Faurot that evening. Gates will open at 6:30. You'll be able to watch practice from 7 until 8:30 that evening. They're going to show a movie at 8 o'clock that night called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That will air, and you can have a chance to, of course, watch practice. They'll have a carnival that will be on the north concourse that will open up that evening at 6:30. Hard to believe we are less than a month away from the opening game for Mizzou football. September 1st, mark your calendar. It is a Thursday night game, and Faurot Field should be rocking that night. They'll be playing Louisiana Tech is the opponent. Very good team coached by Sonny Cumbie. We'll talk more about that game and some of the style he has as we get closer to the game. Rain forcing the cancellation of Wednesday night's Cardinal game at Busch Stadium. Cardinals and the Cubs, day-night doubleheader today. We hope we can get it in. There is possibly some rain in the forecast. First pitch, 12:15 today, 93.9 The Eagle. Second game tonight, 6:45, 93.9 The Eagle as well. White Sox beat the Royals last night, 4-1. Lance Lynn with a win. Our news time, 8:08. All right, John, thanks so much. Right now in Columbia, we do have partly cloudy skies, 75. And our traffic check is brought to you by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to post your job opening today. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. We did have a report of a fire briefly at a medical facility off of Keene. You may have seen a number of fire trucks in that area. Just to let people know, near the Drury Inn, there's a couple of medical facilities. That turned out to be a light bulb that had burned out and was basically sparking. So there's no fire, but they were very concerned when that first started happening. So many of you saw some of the activity. That has been cleared, and they're turning the fire trucks literally around right now as we speak. I'm Brian Houseworth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Oh, okay. And I want to say a word or two as to why. Finland and Sweden want to expand NATO because it is in their national security interest to do so. And fair enough. The question that should properly be before us, however, is it in the United States' interests to do so? Because that's what American foreign policy is supposed to be about, I thought. It's about American security, protecting American workers, defending American jobs, securing American prosperity. And I fear that some in this town have lost sight of that.
That sounds like a campaign speech to me, Holly 2024, and I'm buying into it. Listen, Holly yesterday said, hey, should we let in Sweden and Finland into NATO? And NATO, for if you're in the third or fourth grade and you're a new listener here to Wake Up Mid-Missouri, we welcome you. NATO, an alliance nations formed. It was back in the 40s, basically say, hey, we're an alliance of folks, and basically at the time to protect themselves from the Soviet Union, and it's still in effect today. Hawley said, here's why I think we should vote against it, and he was the only one.
He was the only one. Now, Rand Paul voted present, but...
How sweet of a job is that? I don't have to go one way or the other. It's like when I went to the polls on Tuesday. Could I have just voted on some of those? Presents. Randy Tobler hosts the Randy Tobler Show weekdays 4 to 6. What do you think? Could we do that like our senators and Congress people do? Go in, I'm not going to vote for this I'm just going to vote. I showed up today and I got the sticker.
But it happens more.
It actually came up as a point of contention a while back on the Ashland Board of Aldermen because we had an alderman that wanted to vote abstain, essentially, which is this kind of the same as voting present, abstain from votes. And according to the Ashland documents and the city administrator basically, and the attorney said, nope, if you want to abstain, you have to state your reason why you feel like you can't vote yes or no. And so I thought that was really interesting. You know, either maybe you have a conflict or you can't just you can't just sit there and choose not to vote.
In Jeff City, I can tell you at the Missouri Capitol, the Missouri legislature, voting present is much more common, as Stephanie knows, than it is in Congress. So it's pretty rare. I don't see it as much in Congress, and I try to look at those votes. But in Jefferson City, it's not totally out of the ordinary, especially on a hot-button issue, or there could be a variety of reasons where lawmakers in either party will vote present.
I would just like to, if part of my job is to vote on this stuff, my job is, I would just like to show up one morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Hannah, the producer, and Brian Hausworth and Stephanie Bell. Even Randy Tobler's popped in. It's always good when you pop in, Randy. We appreciate that. And I could just show up and say, all right, guys, I'm here. Stephanie, Brian, Hannah, I'm present, and that's about all you're going to get out of me. Wouldn't that be a remarkable job to have? I'm here. And that's about that. All right. Yeah. Hey, so you mentioned Nancy Pelosi, and it's interesting because Fox's Pete Ducey was asking the White House press spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre this question. Nancy Pelosi, including from Senator Joni Ernst, the Republican from Iowa, Nancy Pelosi is getting some very broad support for her visit to Asia. And check this out. Fox's Pete Ducey asking Karine Jean-Pierre, White House spokesperson, about this.
How come Republicans seem more jazzed about Speaker Pelosi's trip than the president?
You're going to ask Republicans. Jazz.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Do they have jazz hands, Peter?
Do I?
And they had a moment of laughter in there. But I'm wondering because Joe Biden might be able to claim a couple of little victories here recently, and Nancy Pelosi getting very broad general support for what she has been doing. Do you feel like, or do you sense, and I hate to even say it because, hey, everybody wants, you got to win one once in a while, and maybe we chalk one of those up for Joe, but you don't start in your mind start to see this as any kind of momentum, do you? Well, I think that the Kansas thing, you look at the person, Trump in 2020 carried Kansas easy, but then you compare that to this vote the other day, and I think Stephanie will kick back a little bit here, but you've got all this support for Trump, and yet we saw this vote in Kansas regarding abortion rights there. And it's the complete opposite. And I keep keeping in mind the majority of them. As a matter of fact, the majority of Missourians, I think it was KRCG recently had posted some polling from Survey USA that showed the majority of people in Missouri are okay with some type of abortion. And we've seen that trend with national polling. And we saw following that decision from SCOTUS earlier this summer, I think it's the organization Get Out the Vote. They talked about we've got hundreds of thousands of new people registering to vote following that decision. And I'm wondering, is there something to that? Yeah. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show, weekdays 4 o'clock here on the radio station, has popped in the studio hanging out with us this morning.
Well, and I think Kansas really proves like the truth and the way of Dobbs. I mean, Dobbs said, let the people decide, let the states decide. That was the whole point of the case. And guess what? Kansas got to decide. I don't think, now the AP is saying, well, now Democrats have optimism. Like you said, the vote was basically what we already knew from surveys about how people felt about abortion. So I don't think it's like some big sea change or anything to really get excited about. I think Dobbs works. I think, if you want to live in a more liberal state, you might have more liberal abortion policies. If you don't, you don't. And right now, Kansas is in the middle. Their policy is in the middle. They've got a 20-week ban. You have to have an ultrasound. You have to get the packet of information. You have to wait 24 hours. Basically, they're keeping that policy.
And now where we live in Missouri, we're surrounded by now Kansas, where they've got more liberal policies regarding abortion than we do. You can head east on I-70. You can go into Illinois if you want. I don't know what the policies are in Arkansas and Iowa, but I can imagine what they are. Randy Tobler, you got to check out his show, man. I love this because it's talk radio in the afternoon, and it's stuff that's happening right here, things that are affecting us. I know it's early. I know it's only 8:20. Any idea what you have coming up on your show this afternoon? Yes, sir. Stop it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've worked very hard to do all that. You know the story. Randy Tobler, check out his show weekdays 4 to 6. We'll see you this afternoon, Randy. All right, coming up, we're going to be doing the Morning Bell business news, that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. What's brewing this morning? I get points for that, right? Because
that's so good. What's brewing? So Starbucks came out with some new data. Do you have any guesses on what the percentages of hot versus cold drinks sold?
putting the fun in dysfunctional. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning. 8:27 time for the Morning Bell. It's business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. And she's so there's a question on the table.
Yeah, so Starbucks released their last quarter sales.
Okay.
And they're telling us, you know, there's this ongoing debate. Are you a hot coffee person or a iced coffee person? And I know which one I am.
Okay.
I love hot coffee. But I think Hannah, Gen Zers love their iced coffee.
Iced all the way.
See?
I hate hot coffee.
That's so weird. And so they said, hey, the debate is settled. Here's what the sales were. And you said...
So I'm guessing, so what the percentage, what percentage? So I'm saying 60-40. 60% of the coffee sold was hot coffee, 40% was cold coffee.
And now, well, this includes all beverages. I'll say that. So,
okay.
The refreshers.
Yeah.
God.
I don't even know what those are, but like fruity drinks too. So
Okay.
those are cold. So
Okay.
still...
Then I'm going to go 50-50.
Okay, wrong.
Okay.
Starbucks is saying that 75% of their beverages sold last quarter were cold. And everyone's like, well, duh, it's summer. It's been 100 degrees in Missouri. Of course, you're going to sell a lot of cold drinks. And they said, no, over the last year, 70% of our, winter included, 70% of our drinks sold are cold. I find that hard to believe.
I'm an iced coffee all year round type of girl.
So when you do your iced coffee, do you go back to our kitchen here in the Wake Up Mid-Missouri studios, get some hot coffee and pour it over ice? Is that the same thing?
No.
No.
Oh, what's the difference?
It's made differently. Because if you just poured hot coffee over ice, it would just water it down. Because you're just going to immediately melt the ice.
I like the occasional iced coffee, but like right now I've got hot coffee. Yesterday, all week, I've been working really hard, needing that midday coffee, and it's been hot coffee, even though it was like 100. My phone said it was like 104 yesterday.
You see what I have to put up with working with these two chicks? Discussions
Really?
about iced coffee and chick talk and all that.
We have to listen to you gripe about cherub tomatoes and progressive soup 12 times a day.
I think it's interesting because there's so many things that Gen Z has killed, and like we can list them off. So you've killed the top sheet. Apparently Gen Z doesn't use a top sheet, which I find to be disgusting.
Why?
You've also killed, apparently, like you don't do napkins or something, or like paper, a lot of paper products. You guys just are like, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of like one-time use plastic and paper. Yeah.
What's a top sheet?
Like, you know how you have the
flat
fitted
sheet.
the fitted sheet on your bed, and then like the sheet that like you should put on your bed that comes in the sheet set. They just put the comforter directly on their skin, which is disgusting.
Why? Why is it disgusting?
Oh, that's awful. I hope you wash your comforter.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, now they're killing hot coffee too, and if you really actually kill hot coffee, I'm gonna be mad.
Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Hannah, the producer, and Stephanie Bell continues just a few minutes from now. Hey, we have an interesting guest coming up tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday. I want to share that with you because this harkens back to something that happened a couple of months ago. I'm kind of excited about it. I may be the only one. We'll find out just a few minutes from now here on the show.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. A verdict is expected soon at basketball star Brittany Griner's drug possession trial in Russia. She's pleaded guilty and today apologized in court.
But I had no intent to break any Russian law.
She was caught with hashed oil in February. Her attorney's asking the judge for acquittal or at least lenience. Prosecutors want a 9.5-year prison sentence. Jurors deciding whether Parkland, Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz should be put to death for killing 17 people in 2018. Visit Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School today.
The killer will not be there, having waived his right. In the courtroom, more messages from heartbroken families.
I was so happy to be her father.
Tony Montalto describes life since losing Gina.
Life without Gina is nearly unbearable.
These, the family impact statements being read to the jury, now in their third week of the sentencing trial.
Jeff Lennox with Fox TV affiliate WSVN. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has now arrived in Japan on her trip to Asia with a delegation of congressional Democrats. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Houseworth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:31 right now. We do have partly cloudy skies. 75 is our current temperature. We're expecting a high today of around 90 degrees. Chance of rain today, and certainly a chance of rain this evening. Not expecting anything severe. It does look like it's almost going to rain right now. Maybe raining in part of our listening area. Good morning. I'm Brian Houseworth. Here are some of the stories we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. Missouri's governor traveling here to Columbia Wednesday, announcing the largest single investment into tobacco cessation in state history. The governor increasing the amount from the program from $50,000 in GR money, general revenue, to $2.5 million. The governor says tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable disease and premature death in Missouri.
What they're doing here at MU and all the partners that were here today, to be able to put funding in place to really try to make prevention much more accessible to a lot of people all over the state of Missouri, especially our youth, to be here today and deliver that was a pretty special moment.
The governor tells me, and he announced to the crowd, that he is a former smoker. It's something he is not proud of, but he said he grew up on a farm and that everyone, especially his age, smoked at that time. He stopped because he had his grandchild, didn't want the grandchild to be around secondhand smoke. Governor Parson, much more throughout the morning here on 93.9 The Eagle. Longtime Kansas City television news anchor Mark Alford has won the GOP nomination in the 4th Congressional District. His campaign commercials featured him speaking in front of a church cross.
I think people are longing to get back to God, not just in our nation, but in their homes.
And federal prosecutors say a Centralia man has been arrested for his alleged actions on January 6th in Washington. Our news time, 8:33. Turning our attention now to sports. Cardinal baseball today, and I know some of you will be heading over to St. Louis today for the game, or games, if you will, because there's two, although it's not going to be an old-fashioned doubleheader where you can pay and just sit in the stands between the games. They can't really do that anymore. Very rare when they do that. Not today, for sure. Rain forcing the cancellation of the game last night. Cardinals and the Cubs will play two today. First one is at 12:15. You'll hear it right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Miles Michaelis is on the mound. If you had a ticket to the game last night, it's valid for today. Second game, 6:45 tonight. You'll hear it on the Eagle as well. White Sox beat the Royals 4-1. Lance Lynn earning the win. And rest in peace, Vin Scully, the Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster, great football announcer as well. He went to St. Louis, saw the football Cardinals.
2nd and 13 for Jim Hart and the Cardinals on their own 40-yard line. Gray is left, Harris is right. The backs both stay in, and he goes for the bomb intended for Gray. Touchdown! He beat Mel Renfro.
1977, Cardinals Air Coryell and Tom Landry. That call on CBS, and of course the reference there to Mel Gray, the former Mizzou star. Rest in peace, Vin Scully. 8:34. Traffic with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. Worth mentioning again, many of you saw all the fire trucks over by the hospital and also by a lot of the medical facilities over on Keene about a half an hour ago. That has been cleared. There was a report that originally came out of a fire. Turned out it was a light bulb that was sparking and had some issues, and they're trying to get that taken care of, but certainly nothing serious, and a lot of those vehicles were turned around immediately, but there may be one or two left over there. They got to figure out how to get that light taken care of, but everything else is okay. Certainly no injuries. Next update, 9:03, breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Houseworth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Thanks for making Wake Up Mid-Missouri your favorite morning show. 93.9 The Eagle.
What about this idea that this was Putin's price hike? Many people say that's a fallacy because the war is still raging and prices are coming down.
Well,
It's not a fallacy. If you look at the charts.
So why are prices going down?
Look, I'll explain.
All right, there's more here. Fox's John Roberts talking to Biden economic advisor. His name is Amos Hochstein. What a great name, Amos Hochstein. I've known one Amos in my life. His name was Amos Busby. And for some reason, love that name, and I don't know why. I used to do mock trials with him in high school at Center for Management, Law, and Public Policy.
You really can't figure out why you've liked that name?
Amos.
Let's think about this for a second.
No, that's not why I like it.
Right, sure.
I see you, Hannah. I get what you're getting at. Never thought about it that way.
It sounds like that's why you like it.
Amos Hochstein is the guy's name. He's on with Fox's John Roberts. And if you get a chance, I wish we had the benefit of video here, but we don't. You can watch the show. And our channel has kind of... So if you still go to the 93.9 The Eagle channel on YouTube, you can still watch there. But we've been changing things. You may have noticed we've changed things up a little bit.
Well, you can't find our channel by searching that name anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, so I took our existing channel that was called the 93.9 The Eagle, and I just renamed it.
Okay.
So if you're already subscribed to us, you won't notice anything different other than our name. It'll still show up in your feed.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're looking for us for the first time, you'll have to search for us by Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
All right, so you go to YouTube, Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and what we've been getting people like some small business owners. I was talking to somebody. I was at a tailor the other day, and so they have a few people.
Are you humble bragging about losing weight and having to have your clothes tailored?
I almost spit my water out. That was, whew.
Hannah's over there and almost spit out her iced coffee. So I was at the tailor the other day, and they will put up Wake Up Mid-Missouri. They put it up on the smart TV. So like when customers are coming in and out in the morning, they're getting local news that's happening in Missouri and nationwide stuff, and they get a little bit of entertainment in there too. And apparently we had somebody at an auto repair shop several months ago. They were doing it. People in the house, especially as kids get ready to go back to school. Everybody running around in the morning, and they're like, well, I want to get news. I want to know what's happening locally, and I want to know how I'm supposed to think about it. So when I get into work, I have a smart, informed opinion, which we provide here for you, thanks to Stephanie Bell. But they're putting up on the smart TV in the morning while running around so they can watch a little bit and they can hear. And the kids are starting to learn some things about how government works or doesn't work and the truth about some of these social issues. So you can watch now. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri on the channel. So Fox's John Roberts is chatting with his dude. His name is Amos Hochstein. He is...
Sorry.
He is one of Biden's economic advisors, and John Roberts. If you get a chance to see this video, it's amazing because John Roberts, John Roberts just like looking at him like, are you just sitting here lying to my face? Because he's asking about gas prices. Because now, guess what's happening? Gas prices are starting to go down, and Joe and these people are, doing the victory march because we're still paying $4 a gallon for gasoline. But it's all them, which is odd because whose fault was this?
Well, it was Putin's.
It was the Putin price hike. And now that they're doing whatever, now we've solved Putin's price hike. Bull, you did not.
My fiance and I were talking about this the other day. We don't even remember what a normal gas price was. We're like, we know it's in probably the $3 range, but we couldn't remember.
It was the $2 range.
Yeah, it was about $1.81.
Well, at one point during COVID, it got way down there. When Joe, during those tragic events of January the 20th, 2021, gas was, I think, like $2.20-something a gallon. We were looking at some charts earlier this morning. So here continues the conversation with his White House economic advisor and Fox's John Roberts.
The prices start going up as soon as Putin starts intervening in the energy market in Europe. No, they actually weren't.
Sure they were.
They were going up.
That is what you call a line. I want to make sure we're playing that again. So somebody this is just some kind of old-fashioned conservative talking point. You know what's a conservative talking point? Facts and the truth. And what this guy who represents Biden, which is common, we hear this from a lot of folks in the White House, this guy has just flat out, stone cold, Stephanie, I don't know how to put it any simpler. He has just lied on national TV.
Intervening in the energy market in Europe. No, they actually weren't.
No, they weren't going up before. Yes, they were.
Well, and, the host isn't the only one in the room, so I really wish you could see, him making eye contact with everyone else in the room, because, you've been in that situation, right, where you're like, you're lying and we all know it, right? And so I wish you could kind of see, because he's like, really? Are you? Is that your final answer, sir?
Yes, that's what it's like. So as a point of fact, when Joe took office, 2.09 a gallon was the average, according to U.S. retail gas price indicators.com. And you can see, days later, it goes up. And you can see the chart if you're watching on our YouTube channel. You see the mark here. This is where Joe became president, and you can see even well prior to the invasion of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it went up and went up. So this guy who represents the president of the United States is lying to you.
Interesting. And John Roberts, by the way, I think he's a very good. He's a very good reporter. Yep. He's very fair, and for people that are tuning in that haven't heard him before, he will also challenge Republican guests. I think he does.
That's why I like him, because he'll chat.
He's respectful about it too. He really.
If there's a politician and they need a good challenging, it's John Roberts.
He does.
Brian Hauswer, Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer, is here. My name is Branden Rathert. Interesting, Vin Scully. A lot of, even if you're not a sports fan, people know who Vin Scully is. He's made some of the greatest sports call. I mean, even Stephanie Bell, and she's only 28 years old. She knows who Vin Scully is. She's shaking her because everybody knows him. He died. We had several notable deaths this week. Vin Scully. Bill Russell, is it Bill Russell?
Passed away, yes.
Boston Celtics. Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek, first on-screen interracial kiss on TV, which, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That back in the 60s when that happened, when William Shatner, the Priceline guy, kissed her on TV, that was shock. My gosh, a white dude kissed a black chick on TV. It was like,
It was controversial.
I remember in L.A. Law back in the late 80s. Remember L.A. Law?
Yeah.
It
was a big show.
I don't remember L.A. Law.
I got nothing.
Mackenzie Brackman.
Yep.
That was the name of the law firm.
But I remember the big deal then was they were going to use the B word in L.A. Law, and it was a dude who'd been convicted, and he was walking out of the courtroom, and he was calling the attorney who got him. He called her the B word.
Yeah.
And there was hype. It happens tonight. It's the first time ever the B word's been said. And now we're like, whatever.
Yeah.
But Vin Scully, been around for a while. Some of the greatest calls in sports history. And I wish I had context for this here. 2016, he's calling a game between the Brewers and Dodgers. And I have no idea. I saw this on some of our friends posting on social media yesterday. This is in the middle of a ball game. Because, sometimes announcers, they got to kill time.
I find it hilarious that you said you wish you have context, because usually you're the one
I know.
that doesn't provide the context, and Brian has to tell you.
I'm big on context. Maybe you know the context to this then.
We'll have to listen. I don't recall this, so we'll see. But yeah.
All right. This is Vin Scully in the middle of a game, 2016, Dodgers and Brewers.
Socialism failing to work as it always does, this time in Venezuela. You talk about giving everybody something free, and all of a sudden there's no food to eat. And who do you think is the richest person in Venezuela? The daughter of Hugo Chavez. Hello. Anyway, 0-2.
I love that. Here he waxes poetic about the downfalls of socialism, which we see in some cities here in mid-Missouri.
Wow.
He's going, here's how it works. You take money and you give it to other folks, and then all of a sudden you run out of stuff. We see this as a point of fact happen in the city of Columbia. And then, anyhow, it's 0-2.
I'd much rather have that than the guy who's like, hey, that guy's girlfriend's really hot. So is that girl.
Brett Musburger.
AJ McCarron's girlfriend, exactly. It's interesting. I hadn't heard that, and in Los Angeles especially, I don't know how that would have gone over. Some people may say, he was clearly giving his opinion there, and interesting about Venezuela. But you know what? If you watch ESPN right now, they rarely talk about sports. It's almost always about some political issue or some social issue, and it didn't used to be on SportsCenter. So maybe he was trying to do something similar to that. I don't know, but I had not heard those comments, so I don't know the context, and I don't know what. Maybe somebody had brought up Hugo Chavez. I don't know.
I just thought it was odd. Brent Musburger. This is what Stephanie Bell is talking.
Now, when you're a quarterback at Alabama, you see that lovely lady there. She does go to Auburn, I want to admit that. But she also, Miss Alabama, and that's A.J. McCarron's girlfriend, okay? And right there on the right is Dee Dee Bonner. That's A.J.'s mom. Wow, I'm telling you, quarterbacks, you get all the good-looking women. What a beautiful woman.
Wow, A.J.'s doing some things right down in
So if you're a
Tuscaloosa.
youngster in Alabama, start getting the football out and throw it around the backyard with Pops.
That was so awkward.
That was during, but you know what? He took enormous criticism. What saved Brent in there? She defended him.
She said, "I am hot." What are y'all talking about?
She defended him, and he had been around a long time. Of course, he's been here to Columbia, but I think they just were caught off guard. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Herb Street knew what to say there. By the way, I mean he was kind of caught off guard. But the lady he was referring to, she definitely said that she had no problem with what Musburger said.
Well, and I've never done play-by-play, but I assume there's maybe some delays where you're like, I need to fill the time, and I wonder if they've been told, maybe steer clear from politics. People like their politics separate from their sports, and they're like looking around. What are we going to say here?
Let's talk about the hot chicks.
I would much prefer that little political statement that we heard there.
Brian, I know you do a lot of sports stuff. As a matter of fact, you do some work for Alabama football.
And that got a lot of attention in Alabama, as you can imagine.
And I did my very first job in radio once in a while just to make some extra money. I would do color commentary for basketball. And actually in Pensacola, Florida, I did TV color for the semi-pro hockey team there.
That's
and
awesome.
it was bad. But there's time you got to fill time, and that's got to be a big challenge.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, last night, to Stephanie's point, you got to fill time. Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know who they're playing, but the color guy here, his name is Ruben Amaro, and I think he's a former player.
That name rings a bell, definitely.
Yeah, Ruben Amaro.
Interestingly, Pete Rose used to use a bat that was manufactured in Japan, the Mizuno bat, when I was bat boying for the Phillies, and it was the hardest wood I had ever touched.
No, I didn't know that.
By the way, I got to say this to defend myself. The only person that giggled there wasn't even Hannah or me this time. It was one Mrs. Stephanie Bell.
That was bad.
Yeah,
I'm speechless.
Very interesting.
But we say a lot of words. He says a lot of words. I mean, you missed the day when I told people that I really hoped they would get lucky tonight, and accidentally. So I was talking about the lottery, by the way. Sometimes things come out of your mouth and not exactly how you originally.
Way to clean it up, Steph.
You made it so much better, Steph.
There you go.
Pulling a Rathert.
I was going to mention who we have on the show tomorrow. I'm kind of excited about this, but now.
Are you announcing an announcement? Because I've been waiting to hear this all day.
Don't get too excited.
No, this is just this is a different announcement. We have a bunch of announcements that we're going to be announcing. Remember a couple weeks ago? Let's move forward. Let's do this. Coming up 5 minutes from now, a cool guest we want to tell you about. Maybe we'll get into some leftovers. We're going to open up the refrigerator and see what kind of leftovers we have this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9 The Eagle. Here's a big old serving of leftovers on 93.9 The Eagle. Enjoy.
All right, some leftovers, things we didn't get to during the show. Travis just texts 874-9390. He says, with the topics of the last segment, don't know if I want to see what you guys left out of the show. Stephanie Bell apologizes, by the way. We're kidding. Leftovers. Do you guys remember? I thought this was really cool. So in Colombia, the trash system is trash. It really is. The roll carts, and you got to wait for bags, and you get vouchers in the mail. I know there's this woman. Her name is Patty, and she lives off of Oakland Gravel Road. And apparently, whenever the trash bag vouchers come, like, there are some people that get really stoked about this in the city of Columbia. And you may recall whenever we had our last trash bag voucher day, the city was celebrating. And there's a local dude who even wrote a song.
It's trash bag voucher day.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's trash bag voucher day.
It's crazy. Dude wrote a song about it. And we were talking like, man, how cool. If somebody knows that dude, reach out to him. Love to get him on the show. Somebody knows, somebody who listens to Wake Up Mid-Missouri knows the guy. Turns out, I've been talking to him, turns out he does like children's music and has like he's going to join us tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday.
Oh, fun. I like that.
Apparently I'm the only one who's excited about it. You got anything for leftovers?
I'm excited. Well, no, we talked about how the Democrat Senate race was getting so nasty the week before the election. Well, apparently it's not letting up. And we saw, after Schmidt won, the endorsements come flooding in. Even Hawley, who had previously endorsed Hartzler, said he's fully behind Schmidt. But apparently Lucas Kunce was asked, have you talked to Trudy Busch Valentine? And he said, we had a nice chat last night. I'm committed. And then they asked him, are you going to endorse her? And he said, I am committed to helping Dems win up and down the ticket this year.
Oh.
I think that's how the Democrats have been responding when they've been asked, are you going to be supporting Joe Biden?
That happened yesterday in New York. Jerry Nagler was asked, do you think Joe Biden should run in 2024? Hannah, you got anything for leftovers?
Well, last time I checked, do you remember me mentioning to you after you came back from vacation, Marty the zebra that was missing?
Down in the Lake of the here in the Lake of the Ozarks area.
Yeah, he's lost on a 600-acre farm, basically. Last I checked, they still haven't found the zebra. It's been almost a week, and Marty the zebra is still MIA.
So listen, if you see a zebra running around somewhere in mid-Missouri, whether it's in Fulton or California or Holt Summit, or if it's in Moberly or Mexico or... give us a call here at the radio station. Gary Nolan Show is next. See ya.
Bye.